The root word is the country, alright? And the Scandinavian defense come from the principle that you always move the pawn that is in front of the king. So you open the chessboard and you decide how the game flows. Alright? So let's say I am white. Let's start from the top. Let's go back to the very top of the game. Alright? This is the Scandinavian defense. Why? Because I can decide, firstly, how Jaden responds. So let me go to the second move. When I moved here, Jaden had to respond to this because I'm in the center of the board. So he decided to move away from the center and play there. Alright, that's the power of the Scandinavian defense. Okay, now with that said, let's go into it. The idea behind it is that if I play in the center of the board, you have two options as the black piece. It's either you're going to challenge me for the center of the board, or you're going to play away from the board. And in both cases, if you're not skilled enough, you will blunder. Alright? So, black tries to challenge. Alright? And the only good move, so let me press next. If you played right here, I'm going to pick on one person. Let me pick on Aiden. I haven't heard from you yet. Aiden, are you there?
Yes, sir. I just got here.
Alright, good. So we're learning about the Scandinavian defense, which is when the white piece moves the pawn in front of the king, 2 spaces. Do you see this?
Yes, sir.
Right. It's a very powerful move, and it's really one of the most basic moves you can learn. It's a beginner move, right? And what it does, it opens the middle of the board. So let's say black responded by moving his pawn from in front of the queen 2 spaces as well. What would you do in response, Aiden? Would you take the pawn, or would you move your pawn 1 space above to go out of danger? What would you do?
Aiden? I wouldn't take that pawn because if I do, he can kill me with the queen, right, or another piece.
Well, only the queen right now. So if you were to take the pawn, let's look at it. Okay. So if you were to take the pawn, right, the black immediately challenges you for the center. So if you take the pawn, here's what happens. The queen is going to come into the middle of the board and actually own the entire center of the board. But this isn't practical because if you aren't a skilled player, this is actually a disadvantage if you are black. Alright? Because remember, the queen can move any space. So if I eventually try to put it in harm's way, they would have wasted a move trying to get back the queen here. Alright? Let me show you. So the center has been cleared, and this is creative because the queen is in the middle, but it puts her in harm's way if you're not sure what you should do. Alright? 1 second, let me just check who is that. Shirag. Okay, welcome. So Shirag is actually your club president. Alright, he started this club. So any questions you have, definitely reach out to him. Alright? Now, as I said a while ago, Aiden says he wouldn't do it because the queen would take his pawn, and rightly so. Because now you realize you don't have any pieces that are advanced, and you are basically stuck in isolation because a queen is in the middle of the board and you are basically a step behind. 1 second, Talia. Alright, there's a lot of persons joining. Okay, I like to see that. Okay, so when I'm finished teaching this Scandinavian defense, we're going to do some practice matches with each person. Alright, so good job, Jaden. You got it right. So here's the good thing about it. Once you are a black and you realize that your opponent, white, is playing the middle of the board where they put their pawn 2 spaces above, you have 3 options to play. You have something called the modern variation, right, which is what we're going to learn today. The others we'll learn in other classes. But the modern variation now is how Aiden can actually take back power if that was to happen to him. So let's look at it. You move 2 spaces in front. He moves his 2 spaces to challenge you. Here's what you would do in response. Your best move is to take the pawn. Yes. Alright. But black, instead of risking his queen to take that pawn, here's what you could do. You could put a knight there. My question to, let's see. This question goes to Yifeng. Yifeng, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
How many things on the board can immediately take this pawn?
This one.
This pawn right here. So this pawn is in danger by
Sir.
2 pieces.
For me, it's only one.
So which
Only
piece is
one.
that? And which piece is that?
Or 2.
Yeah, it's 2. So what are the 2 pieces that are in close proximity?
The knight and the bishop.
The knight and the queen, actually. The queen. So this piece right here can go 2 spaces horizontal and 1 vertical, and it will take that pawn. And also this queen can take this pawn as well. And my question to you is, which one would you choose and why? Would you rather use the queen to take this pawn, or would you rather use the knight to take this pawn?
The knight.
The knight. Why would you use the knight instead of the queen?
Because it has less points.
Right. And less risk of backfiring. Because if you put your queen right here, she's in danger by any piece on the white. But if you just put your knight right here, the knight will always be protected by the queen itself. Alright? Good job. Okay. So, let's say instead of moving this knight, let's say you actually used your queen and take this pawn. Now, white could respond by doing the same thing, putting the queen in harm's danger. And this is what we were talking about when you waste moves. Because now, your job is going to be to actually protect the queen. So instead of developing your pieces, you're spending moves trying to protect pieces, which is irrelevant. Alright? So, now we're going to learn something called the Gubinsky Melt's defense. What can the queen do to protect herself in this situation where she doesn't have any pawns to develop? Alright? All of her pieces are sitting goose and she's in the middle of the board. What can the queen do? So write that down for me if you're writing. It's called the Gubinsky Melt's defense. And it's the second variation under the Scandinavian defense. Alright, now let's begin. So, let's say I am playing Isabella and she moved her queen right here. I put the knight to really put the queen in danger. Isabella can do one simple defense move to protect her queen. She's going to go directly across to the side of the board. Okay? Now, the idea behind this is to delay any danger to the queen. Right? But the entire idea behind it is that your queen is now out in space. So it might not look like it, but the white is actually in the lead. And I want Chirag to explain to me, why is the white actually in the lead right now in terms of probability to win the match? Chirag, are you there?
Yes, sir. Morphus. Well, only the
right, exactly. It's all about development. Alright? So that's why a lot of the times I was researching this guy who never moves his big pieces. He only uses his pawns and he wins chess matches. Why? Because he develops the board rather than uses his queen. He never uses his queen. Alright? And that's possible unless you know what strategy you are using. So the idea behind the modern variation is to expose the queen. because now the queen is defenseless, and now you realize that black is behind in terms of development. There's no pawns, and I have a knight over that development. Okay. Now, here's another scenario. Let's say that after the white took...
wait, sir?
Yes?
How would I engage someone like Dragon in a one-on-one right now, sir?
Sure, let me show you how to do that. So, the platform that I use is Lightchess. I highly recommend it. What you can do, you're just going to go to lightchess.org. And you're going to now create an account. Alright? And you're going to select play with a friend.
We will send a link. We will get a link to send in the chat.
Exactly. So I can actually play a game with somebody right now. Let me just invite you. So the first person to click on it, we can just play a game real quick. Alright. While I'm going through it. There we go. Okay. Alright, now let's continue. So let's say that when white took the pawn, what could happen next? The queen is exposed, and the white could attack it straight away. So instead of moving, okay, I hear somebody on the game. Instead of moving this queen to take that pawn, Yi Feng told us we should use the knight instead, right? Because we want to delay the game as much as possible. We want to develop our pieces. So now we leave it into the hands of the pawn. It's either they're going to protect this pawn by moving another one here, right? Or they're going to try to sacrifice it. Alright? Now, I want somebody to explain this to me. Why? Oops, what happened there? I'm not sure. 1 second. What happened there? Okay. Wait, I'm not sure what happened. Okay. So let me just quickly play the Scandinavian Defense. There we go. Now in the meanwhile, alright, I'm going to now protect my pawn. Okay. Okay. Oh, you castled already. Okay. Alright, so I'm gonna pause for a second. Let me just finish this presentation.
Come on, that's having so much fun.
Alright, hold on. 1 second. Let me just quickly finish. Okay, here we go. The Gubinsky method. So as I was saying, 1 second. Here we go. One second. Okay, so as we were saying, the Gubinsky method now is where the black could defend itself when they use the queen. So after the white takes the pawn, alright, black takes it with queen. Immediately, white is going to try to attack the queen, and the Gubinsky defense mechanism says that black, instead of going here, should always place the queen one step behind. So those are the 2 or the 3 strategies we learned today. Alright, we learned the Gubinsky melt defense, and we learned the modern variation as well as the Scandinavian defense. Alright. Now with that said, I'm going to now open the floor for you guys to play some chess matches quickly. So we have 10 persons. Okay, we have 10 persons, and each person could play in a group of 2, pair of 2. So let me just send out some invites. So we have 10 persons in the chat, and I want everybody to play a match real quick. Okay, so Jaden and Naima are going to play a match. Isabel and Yifeng, Hans and Aiden, Audley and Yiming, and Shirag and I are going to play a match. Alright?
Sir, what about our match? We already started one.
Yeah. So Chirag and I are gonna play that match. So quickly, everybody just go to.
So what about the one we already started?
Yeah. So let's continue. All right. You're so eager. Okay. All right. So quickly, everybody just go to lightchess.org. Go to lightchess.org for me. There you go. And now what I want you to do, wait, let me read the chat. 1 second. Okay, you see my game? Okay. So now what I want you to do is to create an account and tell me once you've done so. Alright, in the meanwhile, I'll give you a take back. In the meanwhile, I'm going to be playing a match. You can watch. I'm not going to win because, of course, Chirag has been playing longer than I have. But
it's oddly not Chirag.
Okay, sorry. It is Chirag. Oh, it's oddly. Okay, my bad.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That means I can't lose to you either. Alright. So
I mean, I've been playing since prep school, but...
Alright. So, what I like to do, I like to make mistakes. Alright, and a majority of my matches that I've won, I've always had the least probability to win. So, for example, I like to take risks such as this. Alright, because technically he can't do anything. The only thing he can really do is either... I'm gonna stop talking. Let's continue. Okay. So if you have any questions while this match is going on, please don't be afraid to ask. Alright. Has everybody signed up for light chess as yet? Okay. Okay. Now there's this thing called sacrificing. Alright. So for example, a while ago, he took my pawn, and now a typical person would want to avenge that by taking his bishop. Alright, we call that a sacrifice. So, yes, of course, I would want to take his bishop, but guess what's going to happen? It will be pointless because now I realize that his rook would just avenge that, and now he'll be more developed than I am. So instead of doing that, instead,
sir, I just use a pawn, sir.
Right, so it wouldn't be practical for me to avenge just a pawn. So instead, I'm going to play the hidden gate. Okay. Okay. Alright. No, I don't really have much to say because I'm really just trying to be focused, but I'm just going to talk through the process. So, if I went here, okay, the bishop would eventually just take that knight. So it would be impractical for me to take that pawn for just a knight. Alright? Since he moves his queen, a lot of persons would like to focus on the queen, but there's no point to focus on the queen because she's barricaded by all tiles. She has no point of entry on my tile right here.
Sir, you should focus on the queen though, sir.
I should. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hold on. No. Let me keep talking. You're distracting me. Alright. Well, let's continue though. Alright, so... Alright, can we have a commentator? Anybody wants to just ask questions about the mindset? Because Audley's very quiet as well, and I'd like to know what he's thinking. So, ask your questions, everybody, and we'll definitely answer it. Any questions so far?
I was thinking how I can save the horse, or sorry, the knight.
The knight. Yeah. So you must think about sacrifice. If you're going to save the horse, what would it be for? Right. So you're gonna.
That's because now you just lost your queen.
Right.
No, he hasn't lost. What? How have I lost my queen? What do you mean?
Oddly, you put yourself in.
Wait. Okay, I'm blind. Whatever. Yeah, I'm blind.
Alright.
Now sir could probably take that knight, so you bet your move that.
Well, both his
There's
knights.
no point. It's a die anywhere move actually.
Yeah.
So there's no point.
So his two knights are actually in danger. So regardless, I can take whichever one.
Yeah, I messed up, but it happened.
Alright. So what should I do in this position? Alright. So I'm in check. And Isabella, are you there?
Yes, sir.
You asked earlier, can I castle in check? Let's try it. No, you can't. So this is what I was explaining. The idea behind it is that the king can't run away and hide under a castle, for example. That's what castling means. The king literally barricades himself while the rook protects him. But because there's a danger right here, right? Even though logically the knight still couldn't take the king right here, they don't allow you to do that. So you can't castle while you're under check. Alright? So that's the reason why. Okay, now what I'm gonna do, I have two options. It's either I'm going to eliminate the knight by making a move or escape the knight by moving the king. And that's the only move I have. There's currently no pieces on the board that can actually eliminate this knight. So I must move the king. But to which position? So either this one, and he'll take the rook regardless. So I must move it in a position that he can still protect himself. Alright? So I'm gonna go into this position. That forces him to not take it. Okay, awesome. Why did that just scare me? I thought it was a checkmate sound. Oh my gosh. Alright. Let's continue now. So, I'm Shirag, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Right. So this is what I want to really highlight. Because I have a queen advantage over him, I can do some sacrificing to really pull him out. So the only danger that I see on the board is his bishop and his knight. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sacrifice my knight to actually pull out his bishop. Alright? His bishop right here is trapped, so I can still move it there and not have any worries. Alright, good. The next move that I'd like to make.
Open up your bishop, yeah.
Right, exactly. There we go.
And then when you keep on, you'd be attacking the rook.
Mm-hmm. But don't let it fool you, right? Always pay attention to your knights, because if I go here, what will be in danger? My bishop, because this can take away, and also the rook. So it's
take the rook with your pawn.
Exactly. But I'm just gonna highlight to you: never be fooled by our knight. Always look at the L positions, alright? Alright. Now the next thing I can do is not worry about the king as yet. It's better you strip the king than try to check the king and checkmate while there are active pieces on the board. So let's say, for example, I can actually check the king currently, right? Allow him to barricade himself further and then strip him even more. Okay, now pay attention for me, everybody. What would you suggest I do? Do I go directly for the king, or should I strip some pawns to open up the board? For example, I can move these rooks in from their bases and develop them, or do I advance with only one bishop, possibly another bishop, but this queen is currently barricaded here? What would be the best choice of action? I want to hear from somebody who knows chess but doesn't play it as well. Naima. Naima, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Now I want you to look at this from Naima. currently my 2 rooks are in the bases, right? I haven't moved them since the game start. So wouldn't it be a wiser choice for me to develop those rooks? Yes, it would. So for example, I can place this rook in the middle of the board, alright? And then offer my queen some support, because currently she can't take this knight, and if she moves to this direction, she has nothing to support but just a king. Okay, so I'm gonna move this rook here. Always pay attention to the knight. The most dangerous thing on the board is a knight that is in the middle of the board. That's the most dangerous piece. Okay? Alright. Okay. This is what we call a hanging pawn. Because if I take this pawn will come and resurrect. So what I suggest you do is, again, do some sacrifice. Now, what piece could I sacrifice to get that rook up there? That question goes to, let's see, Yifeng. Yifeng, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Right. What piece do you see on the board that I could sacrifice to get one of his main pieces on the board? What piece could I sacrifice? Look closely. Alright, let me give you a hint. What is the only piece that's defending the king right now temporarily?
Pawn.
The pawns, alright, yeah. But the rook is also defending the queen, the king. So what I could do, I could sacrifice my bishop, alright, just to remove this rook. And then now, the only thing that will be defending this king is just 3 hanging pawns and a trapped bishop. Alright, we call it a valuable sacrifice. Okay, now as you can realize, there's something happening here, and I'm betting Chirag sees it. Alright, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna leave right here and let him decide what he would rather do. Okay, now here's what I'm gonna do now. I want to develop some of these pawns. So say for example, let me just quickly check the board. I can go right here. You might be saying, sir, you left your bishop. Yes. Now, Chirag, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Tell me, was that a smart move by Audley?
Well, when you think about it, yeah, because, you know, you take the bishop.
Alright, so you can argue that, but here's the thing. The only time I need my bishops is when I'm trying to trap the king. Currently, I do not need to trap the king because the only thing that's defending him is pawns, a bishop, and a knight. Now, because he moved this pawn right here, look for me, he actually opens up the board for me to go in to his king. Right? Now my...
can take anything,
right,
basically.
Exactly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just play the wiser, take his pawn, and because the board is now open for me, I'm going to quickly develop the pieces and advance to the king. That's what we call patience, alright? So some persons would have rather to just move this bishop God knows where, because if you move it here, it'll still be taken by a pawn. If you move it here, that bishop gets even more developed and take your bishop. So where would you rather move it? In a defensive stance that doesn't benefit you, or sacrifice it to open the board? You have to focus and look at that type of situation. Alright, because regardless, if I moved it down here, it would actually block my king in the case of an escape. If I moved it here, it would block my queen from developing here. and if I moved it back into its original position, that serves it no purpose. Alright, now he's trying to do the exact same thing, give his king an escape. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, let me just quickly assume the board. 1 second. Okay. That is such an excellent move, which is very underrated. Alright? That's such an excellent move. Okay. Now, my king is currently trapped. If I move here, it would be so bad, such a bad move, because here's what's going to happen. This knight can come here and check my king, even though I can replace him with a rook. It's still not a good position to have my king backed in a corner. Alright? But I'm going to play the bait, and I'm actually going to move that position. Oops. Let's wait a moment for them to rejoin. Alright, thank you so much for rejoining. The class is almost finished. We're almost finished. Well, I'm hoping we're almost finished. But here we go. So, yes, it would be a bad move for me to go here, because you might argue, okay, this knight can move here and check me. But I'm going to play that move, and I'm going to explain why. Alright, now quickly pay attention for me, everybody. Look on the board. You might argue that I am losing the match, and that's fair. But you have to look at the future. Alright? Let's see what Audley moves firstly before I say anything. Okay? Let's see what Audley moves. Okay. That's a good move, Audley. Now, why didn't you move your knight and try to check my king? Audley?
The queen would have killed it.
The queen or the rook would have killed it. Now, look at this now. Technically, I am in such bad position. Because look at this. My king, as I said, should never be trapped in a corner with two developed pieces. Alright? If he moves here, alright, technically, I'll be on the check. And the only position I can move is going to be closer to it. But I'm going to bite the bullet and move here. Now let's look at why. This is very risky. So I'm actually in a good position to lose the match. But if it pays off, that's the beauty of chess. Alright, this is a very risky move. Chirac, do you see what I'm doing?
Yeah, you're doubling up if it goes well. Yeah, that's a good move.
That's such a beautiful move. Okay. Okay, so
bring it to a6.
A6.
Not the queen.
Yeah. Alright, let's look at that though. If I move it to a6, you could argue that's a good move. But what about... Well, you know what? Actually, that's a great move. Never mind. It's a great move. 1 second, let me check the chat. Yeah, it is actually a good move. I was going to try to push your knight with a pawn, but that would be pointless because you could just move your... One second.
Also, see, when you're in a good position and your king is always out, just constantly check, because if you're wasting a move, the opponent can always just do more stuff, you know?
Exactly, that's what I was about to say. Right? So it's rather I push to the king than try to push to his knight. Let me go back and explain that. So, a while ago, I had a choice. Let me look back on that move. I think it was right here. Right? I had a choice. It's either I could have moved here and pushed this knight, which would be pointless because this knight could go here and check my king. So it's rather I develop the queen, as Shirag and Audley rightly said, because that gives me a greater position on just constantly checking him. So even if he has his pieces on me, when I'm constantly checking him, he cannot develop them. Alright, there we go. Okay, let's set the chat. Okay, it's not kill me. Alright. Let's go. Let's go here. Okay. Okay. All right. I want to try something. I've learned of this checkmate, and I think it's gonna be fun. Let me try it. I think it's gonna be fun. Let me try it. It's definitely gonna be fun. Okay. 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 All right. Okay. A lot of the time, finishing a match is actually the hardest part. Alright, you want to win a match in the shortest amount of moves. So rather than just making pointless moves, I'm actually going to just think for a moment. Alright.
Sir, I think you have checked your king already.
What?
I see. I see the point where you can check your king.
Where he can check my king?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, he can.
A knight.
Yeah, and then whenever that's possible, you should move the thing that you're... Alright, so you have something called a fork when your knight can attack two pieces at once. And especially when it's the king, you have to move your king out, and then your knight could always just take the other one. See, if your knight, if that black knight moves the...
Sir, wait, sir.
Yes? Let me hear from you guys.
Your queen is in danger right now.
No, I know. So that's a beautiful sequence right here. Alright? So the queen is actually in danger, but not to the extent you would think. Because here's the beautiful part about it. I'm gonna let that sequence play out if Arlo decides to take it. But as they rightly said, moving your king out of a corner is always the best decision. But not to the position of any pawns, because if a pawn is right here, the king can't escape. So rather, I'm going to take this plate and actually push the knight to make a move. Now, can anybody tell me what am I going to do now? am I just going to just take the knight, alright, and go on with my day? Can anything stop me from getting another queen? Only a king. Alright? That's what we call a reasonable sacrifice. So I put the queen there in danger because that's the only way I could ensure at the end of the match I would still have a queen to check the knight. Check the king rather. Alright? A reasonable sacrifice. Now let's continue. Okay. It's weird. Okay. Beautiful. Alright. There's one move on this board that is going to make me win the match. I want somebody to tell me if you see it. I'm going to call on each person. The first person to tell me that move gets a prize. Alright. It's one move to checkmate. I'm going to ask Naima first, going down. First person to get it right gets a prize. Naima. Oh, my bad. Naima, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Alright. There's... One moment, guys. Ingano. Yeah, because in that try call a bit in a class. Ingano. Soon come in our class. Right. Sorry about that. So there's one move. There's one move to checkmate. And Naima, you get the first choice. So what's that move?
Is it castle?
Castle. Castle. No. There's no castle. Because remember, the castle is when the king can move 2 spaces and then the rook secures him. Alright. Good attempt though. Let's try Hans. Is that how you say it? Hans Relwani?
Yeah.
Alright. There's one move on the board that would secure a checkmate. Do you see the move?
So, sir, are you white?
I'm white. Right.
Okay.
There's one move. Let me play some trivia music.
You could.
Jeopardy theme music. 1 second. It actually helps you to think properly. Don't worry. I used this back in the day. Jeopardy theme music. 1 second. Let's just play it.
I saw the move, sir.
Oh, you saw the move? Okay. So we have one person that sees it. Wait, I'm not going to check the chat because if somebody typed the answer, that's very bad. Alright, don't check the chat, everybody. I want you to think though. There we go. One person. Hans, do you see the move?
Yes. Can I tell you it?
Yeah, tell me the move. Wait. The music is way too loud. Hold on, 1 second. Alright, there we go. Move the queen. Where?
Move it I think the 4th spot to my right.
Like that?
Move it to the right.
The right?
There. I think that was.
Alright, that's a great attempt. You almost got it. Alright, so moving here would check the king, but it would not mean... Well, it does actually. Yeah, it does, right, Chirag?
Sure, that's checkmate.
Yeah, so there's 2 moves. That means there was 2 different moves you could have made. You could have made it here and check him, or you could have went here and check him. Alright? Good job, everybody. Alright, let me stop the
That was my exact move, sir.
Exactly. So both moves would have won you the match though. Alright, that was a great game, Audley. Thank you so much. So in summary, remember the two.
That was a very educative match.
Thank you.
Very long and educative, sir.
Alright, that's good. So remember the two defenses we went through today. The Scandinavian defense, and we also went through, one second, Scandinavian defense, the modern variation, and the lovely German word that I can't pronounce. Let me go back down. One second. One second. The Scandinavian defense, the modern variation, and the Gubinsky melt defense, which is basically when you bring out your queen to defend that knight, right? You just move a space backwards, and instead of going to the right, you move it here. That develops your queen, but it still doesn't put her in danger. So this session was recorded. You can watch it later on, and just remember to sign up for light chess. You can play each other in your spare time. So I'm gonna take a screenshot of all the members we have currently, and I'm going to send you a form to fill out. All right. Now fill out this form so I can have your email address and I can invite you in matches with others. So forms, register for the chess club. Before you go, quickly let me give you this form. One second. Send you form. Alright, shorten link. There you go. So fill out this form for me before you go, and have a great evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining a first session of the chess club. All right, take care.
I need to sign in.
Alright, thank you. Bye.
You're welcome. Take it. Wait. If you guys want the link, to the lesson today, here's the link. It's called simplifiedchess.com. The Scandinavian Defense and the Gubinsky method. There you go. Alright, have a good evening, everybody. Take care.
I actually already responded to it before class.
Alright, good. Take care.